The biggest location flag you've ever seen in your date. So I'll start. 1. He told me I should wear a skirt when we meet in person. Talked via dating app. When I said no, he told me that was the reason I was divorced. Because I don't listen to men. 2. This was after a few dates. He had 2 daughters. He told me that it was a woman's fault for being raped because she should just fight back and every woman should take self-defense or it's their own fault. Let me repeat, this man has daughters. What are the biggest red flags you've ever seen in a date or so? What are the biggest red flags you've ever seen in a date or so? On the 4th date, I went to his apartment, which was absolutely disgusting. Clothes and empty delivery containers everywhere. No sheets on his bed. What looked like black mold on the shower wall. A toilet that had never been cleaned. This man was 35 and had a roommate. 2 of them lived there like that. He took me to an incredibly high-end restaurant and got us a custom tasting menu. It was amazing. And because of that, the dinner was about 3 hours long. In those 3 hours, I spoke for maybe 10 minutes total. And he spent the entire rest of the time telling one single story about how he infiltrated a Tony Robbins seminar and realized that most people work for him for free, blah blah blah. One story. He made it last 3 hours. He told me that the devil controlled the internet and that's why he couldn't find proof that Noah's Ark was real. He was such a lovely guy otherwise, but I just could not get past the whole extremely religious thing. When, after a few weeks of dating, he started choking me during sex, saying, "I'll stop when you say you'll marry me. I'll stop when you say you love me. Fuck." He told me that I should shave my dog because skin-to-skin contact was more intimate. Woman running, light skin tone running -- location flag. He had rape fantasies. And he was a cop. Side note, he dumped me because I was boring but ended up killing his next girlfriend and himself. He needed to talk to me alone in the parking lot behind the bar. Then when my friends followed, as I knew they would, he suddenly forgot the super secret and important thing he was going to say and decided to just leave. I'd recap the worst date of my life, but it would take too long. The 2 biggest red flags were location flag, being told I wasn't allowed to divorce him, and location flag at the end of the evening when I was sure this wasn't going to work out. He went in for some unwanted PDA and I must have stiffened. He then thought it was appropriate to say something along the lines of, "Jesus Christ. Were you raped or something? What is your problem?" It was our 2nd date. He seemed so normal on our first coffee date. He was surprised that I actually read comics and said I must be smarter than most girls. I was stunned because I thought we'd all shamed that compliment out of existence already. ETA, this was first coffee stage. He didn't waste time. He told me he was a Nazi. I am Jewish. He said my body reminded him of his 11-year-old cousin and giving me a hug would make him feel very uncomfortable. Mind you, I'm a 27F with a very skinny frame and a pretty flat chest. But this was our hello, nice to meet you moment. I had one man tell me on a date I should drive a better vehicle for the money I made. I loved my Jeep, so F off. Another guy the first had been casually seeing for a few weeks asked during sexy time if I would marry him. I laughed, thinking it was a joke. It was not. He was very butthurt I turned him down. Some FBI-level sleuthing showed his ex-wife was getting married later that month. We broke up. He texted the day before his ex's big day to ask if I would meet him at the courthouse and take the plunge. Sorry. New phone. Who dis? He pinned me down on his bed and told me he could do anything he wanted to me. Not a date because I turned him down. But couldn't even get through asking me out before calling me a slur. Not the biggest. But it's now a joke with my friends. Meet up with a guy the first was chatting with on an app. He went straight in for a pash after not more than a hello. Now I wasn't opposed to it. Just a bit taken aback. The next words from his mouth was I like to be called daddy. Now if that's your thing, all good and well. But not my cup of tea and I don't want those biscuits. Him yelling, "Don't ask me that" at me when I asked him what his job was. Thought it was cool that this guy had a decent house, but it smelled like actual garbage and cat piss. And it was filled with Nicolas Cage memorabilia. Terrible first impression. I went on a coffee date with him and he talked about how he cheats because his diabetic wife doesn't do it for him anymore. I got up to walk out. But he stops me to say he doesn't understand because I'm poly. Yes. I'm poly. But I do it ethically and that means everyone knows what's going on and approves of it. That's the biggest red flag when they can't respect that there are those of us who practice polyamory ethically. He hit a wall right by my head and said he was happy he'd restrained himself. He kept telling me over and over why his favorite band Slipknot is superior to my favorite bands. They're not even comparable bands. Two different genres. So odd to keep bringing it up. Turned me off him. He then kept ordering foods for me I said I can't eat because I'm allergic to them. He would then get offended when I wouldn't eat them. This man was 35. Not as bad as the guy who showed me the video of him proposing to his ex-wife though. He waited until the food came to tell me they didn't have money to pay for not only the date that they asked me on but to pay for themselves either. Still tried to come back to my apartment after I picked up the check. Called me a gold digger when I refused. Showed up with 3 kids they never mentioned they had only spoke on phone or on app and expected me to pick up dinner for all 3. Followed me out of the restaurant screaming at me when I knocked out of the date. Literally screamed at me that all women love kids and I must be mentally damaged or trans. I felt bad for the kids. His very quick temper. His inability to handle sudden changes to plans without getting angry, frustrated. He could be seriously scary when he was angry. And he'd get angry at video games too. Never hit me. Never threw anything. Never broke anything. He was very volatile and my mother was constantly asking me if he was abusing me. I had a psychotic patient last week who got mad at me and stated you are one of those women that doesn't listen to men. I looked straight at him and said that is correct. Tears of joy. Location flag touched me after I explicitly said no on the first date. Location flag then followed me to a concert. Location flag tried to PDA during a slow song. Norfolk Island can't find a green flag. The giantess woman that found me in the bathroom at said concert. After I noticed he was there and before the PDA who told me she would be more than willing to fight him and the safe word was pineapple and actually did get between us and protect me during said slow song.